In this video, we're going to explore how we can create or generate contour lines from the 3D topography that we import from Google Earth. So the first step of this is we need to go and geolocate our model. So we'll click on the File drop-down, go to our geolocation arrow, and click Add Location. Now this launches a Maps interface where we can type in an address or location. So let's just go over to Breckenridge, Colorado, because we know that's pretty mountainous out there. And we're going to grab a site. I might just back out a little bit so I can kind of see what I'm looking at here. And you know, this is probably as good as a site as it gets. So maybe we'll just go with this looks like a pretty large house right there in the middle of Breckenridge. So what I'll do is click on Select Region, and we can import as little or as much of this site as we want. I'm going to grab a lot of it and click on Grab. Now that actually pulls in a one-to-one real-world scaled aerial photograph. So when I'm looking at this, I can actually take my tape measure tool and measure these roofs. You can see it's like 28 feet. This looks like a deck. It's roughly 15 feet. So that's a pretty helpful tool in itself for tracing site plans or just measuring buildings in general. Now we've imported this aerial imagery. We can also go to go to View, Toolbars, and take a look at our Google toolbar. So View, Toolbars, Google, and we have a button on here called Toggle Terrain, and we can actually toggle our terrain on and off. So the 3D terrain that comes in is typically it's a 30-meter resolution. And the most information we have on that really, or the best way to explain it, is 10-meter resolution is pretty excellent, 90-meter resolution is pretty bad. Most of the imagery in Google Earth, or most of the topography that we're able to import, is in fact 30-meter resolution. For an example of the bad stuff, you might just go to the middle of a farm or a cornfield somewhere in the Midwest, and you'll see that's pretty low resolution topography. And the best of the best would be at the Grand Canyon. That's a 10-meter resolution, and you can really see the points of the mountains, and everything's really nice and sharp. So typically this is 30-meter resolution, and maybe another way to explain this as well would be to go to View and turn on our hidden geometry. And when you turn your hidden geometry on, you can see how this mesh has been triangulated. And it's probably safe to assume that they've plotted these points. So we can go to our tape measure tool, and it looks like a point is plotted every roughly 25 to 30 feet. So I definitely would not build off of any survey generated in this way, but it's a great way to make some estimates on cuts and fills. And if you don't have a site survey yet, it's a great way to get started immediately, and then you can just insert the real site survey once it arrives at your office. So we can go to View, turn our hidden geometry off again. So in order to create our topographic lines, and you know what, I'm sorry, let's do one more thing here. So I've pulled in this one chunk of the site, and let's say we want to grab more. You can just go up here and click on your Add More Imagery button. So that makes it really easy to go ahead and I'll just go from corner to corner, select region, and then let's just grab a bunch of this. So when you're doing your first import, you want to make sure that you don't need to grab the entire thing all at once, because that's going to come in fairly low res. If you just grab pieces of it, you can chop it together here and create a much larger site plan. So we'll go down one as well and select our region, and then drag these pins here and click on Grab. Alright, so now we've got quite a bit of our site, and you can see that everything's kind of patching together nicely. And so now we want to generate our contour lines, or our topographic survey. So really a topographic survey, those lines represent slices set at set intervals. So the way that we can do that is use your rectangle tool and just draw a large rectangle over that entire site there. Next, use your selection tool and double click that rectangle, and then right click on your selection and choose Make Group. Typically it's best just to make things into groups before you're moving them around and copying them. Next, you want to use your Move Copy tool, and let's move this guy straight down. So I'm going to find my blue axis and hold Shift, and so now my blue axis is locked, and I can move that straight down just below that bottom point. So there we go. Now what I'm going to do is make a copy and an array of this rectangle. So I'm going to copy it up by, let's say 5 feet. You could do 1 foot intervals, but we're just going to do 5 foot intervals. We'll make a copy. So to make that copy, I click once to pick it up, tap Control or Option on the Mac, and I'm just going to tap my up arrow key to make things real easy. That automatically locks my blue axis for me. Now, once I've suggested my direction, I can let go of the mouse and type in 5'Enter. That's copied up by 5 feet, and we probably need to do that like 100 times. So we'll type in 100x enter. And that looks like it was plenty, so that's fine. So now you can see in there we do have our survey, or our 3D terrain. And what we need to do now is use our selection tool, and I'm just going to select all of these rectangles and right click on my selection and choose Intersect Faces with Model. When I do that, it's basically taking all of these rectangles and drawing the lines where they intersect with my topography. So now I can just delete those, and you can see what's left over here are my topographic lines. Now if you want to see those even clearer, we can go to Window, Layers, and we can turn off our Google Earth terrain. So now we have just simply our contours, and the nice thing there too is that they're actually in 3D, so they're set with a Z dimension there as well. Now if you want to share these with somebody, you can always export as a 3D model. We can go to File, Export 3D Model, and we can save it as an AutoCAD DWG. So that's a great option. Most anybody can read DWGs, and it's just going to come in as line work, and it'll all come in as a 3D model as well. Now if you're using 2D CAD and you just want to kind of get this line work kind of dumbed down into your 2D CAD program, we can go to Camera, Standard Views, Top, Camera Parallel Projection, and then we can go to Zoom Extents to make sure that we're seeing all of our geometry, and choose File, Export 2D Graphic. Now when we export a 2D graphic, typically you think of a JPEG image, like a snapshot of your model. But we can also take a DWG snapshot of the vector line work on our screen. And you have some options over there as well as to which version of CAD, and then also typically full scale is fine, and profile lines typically none. So same thing with the 3D options there. You can set which version of CAD you're exporting to. Okay.